Hey everybody. I'm continuing on with my video series on my favorite subgenre, which is the tragic sci-fi romance, a very specialized subgenre that I have a lot of admiration for. The movie that I'd like to talk about this time is Dark City, which came out in 1998 and is directed by Alex Proyas and stars as the lead couple Jennifer Connelly and Rufus Sewell. Now, Dark City differs from some of the other movies I'm focusing on here because it isn't exactly a tragedy like some of the other ones are. Let's just say things don't turn out as badly as they could have for the main characters in Dark City, but still, it's the situation itself which is somewhat tragic. If you haven't seen the movie already, I'm going to get into some of the plot details, but be wary of any details concerning the end because I would like to say a little bit about that. In any case, I recommend it very, very strongly. It's a terrific movie, one of my favorites from that year. And I find it very moving, actually, which is something I didn't expect from this movie in particular. I just, figured it would be a cool-looking science fiction mystery, but in fact, I found it quite moving, and I actually cried like at least 2 or 3 times during the course of the movie, which is just unheard of for me. I mean, Toy Story 3 made me cry like once at the end. It was a big cry, but it was just one. This has like several scenes throughout, which I was, kind of devastated by. So in the beginning of the film, and I would recommend watching the director's cut instead of the regular version, but the regular version is fine. That was the one that I first saw. But the regular version has some narration in the beginning, which kind of gives you maybe a little bit too much information about what's going to happen. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. People can go in totally cold and still enjoy it. And I went in, knowing something about the film in advance, but that little piece of information in the beginning didn't necessarily hurt my enjoyment of the movie. It sort of set up the whole premise, I guess. So I was able to, focus in on other things than trying to figure out exactly what was going on. The movie begins with a guy who has no memory, doesn't know his name, doesn't know anything about himself. He wakes up in a bathtub in some dingy little motel room and doesn't understand what's going on. He gets dressed. He sees a woman in his room dead with parts carved out of her chest, and he is very, very apprehensive about this. And he wanders around the city trying to figure out who he is and what has happened. It comes to pass that there is a murderer on the loose, and he begins to worry that he might be this murderer and that he has just blocked out a lot of the bad things that he has done. Include like perhaps killing people. He has these sort of vague idea that his wife was cheating on him with another man, and he flew into a rage and then went and started killing women randomly. And he really doesn't see himself as the killer type. He finds this difficult to accept, but he doesn't remember exactly what his life was like before waking up in that bathtub, so he just doesn't know what's going on. Well, as it transpires, the story involves a race of alien beings that have abducted a large number of humans from Earth and have artificially created new memories and new lives for them. The reason why Rufus Sewell doesn't remember anything is because his brain rejected these artificial memories when the aliens attempted to implant them. And he's been wandering around trying to figure out exactly who these guys are and what he can do to stop them. Now, the problem is, of course, is since they've been abducted, they're not actually on Earth anymore. And what you learn during the course of the movie is that this city that they're in is basically sort of stuck on this enormous space island out in the middle of space somewhere. So even if he manages to solve the problem of these aliens that are hunting him down and want to experiment him and everything like that, even if he manages to do away with them completely, they're still stuck in this giant, raft in the middle of outer space with no way to get back home again. And this, for me, was sort of the tragic part of this movie. Even though things turned out a lot better than they could have for himself and the Jennifer Connelly character and a few other people in the film. They're stuck. They're stuck out there in the middle of space, and who knows what's going to happen next. This is a very, very visually striking film. Some of the shots in this movie are just amazing. And one of the things that I found one of the things I got so emotional about is when they sort of are trying to piece together exactly what their predicament is. And those of us who are people watching the film, understand a lot better what's happened than the characters themselves, and that makes it all the more poignant. When one character asks, there's a scientist character, a doctor played by Keifer Sutherland, who has been sort of employed, or forced to conduct these experiments on humans involving their memories. He says, a character says to him, okay, so we were abducted by these alien beings, but where were we abducted from? And Keifer Sutherland says, I'm sorry, I don't remember. They made me erase that part. Nobody remembers where we came from. And of course, everyone, watching the film knows that they were abducted from a planet called Earth, but they don't even have a name for it, which is very sad. And the end is something that really I found quite devastating as well, which I won't get into too much, but let's just say that it's bittersweet. It could be considered a happy ending, or a very sad ending, depending on how you look at it. But at the very least, it's quite bittersweet. And one of the early scenes in the film, the scene about midway through, is the one where Rufus Sewell is trying to explain to Jennifer Connelly what's happened. And the fact is, we're only meant to think that we were married, okay? These are memories that they implanted in our head. We're not actually a married couple. And Jennifer Connelly goes, well, I hear you saying that, but what I feel for you is very real, and I just don't understand why I would love you if that isn't actually part of my past. And I began thinking after I saw the movie, and I was thinking, gee, wait a minute. They don't remember what their lives were like beforehand. So there's a possibility that they actually did know each other, that they were together, or at least, that they had some bond of some kind in their past life, in previous experiments, or perhaps when they were back on Earth they even knew each other. I don't know. Is it possible they're actually meant to be together, and that all the alien meddling with their brain has actually, they were actually able to fight past that? I don't know, but that's kind of a romantic notion, I think, and so I found that quite moving. That's a terrific movie. One of my favorite things about it, of course, is the score. I think the score is so incredibly beautiful, especially at the end. Yeah, it's something else. So, yeah, Dark City is definitely a good one to check out. And again, I recommend seeing the slightly extended version versus the regular version, but both of them are fine. If you can't get a hold of the extended one, it's only a little bit longer. There are a few minor changes. The normal theatrical version should probably suit you just fine. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll have more videos talking about some other films in this favorite sub-genre of mine in the near future. Take it easy.